What's happening? What's happening? It is Wednesday, April the what's today? The 14th. Well, back in the day, we would say we were a day away from tax day because tax day was on April 15th. But our life is so crazy these days that, my goodness, tax day is not until like May or June or July, depending on when where you are, or if you're a business or whatever, you got a little bit of time to do some stuff. So welcome to another episode of the Storytellers Show. This is episode number 6, numero 6. I'm a little bit bilingual today. Look at that. Look at that. Yes. Yeah. So how you doing, man?
I am doing swell. I'm actually excited for that sounds I'm excited for this episode. Signature Stories is something that I have never really given consideration to until I look back and realize, oh yeah, I've got some. Yeah. So it's gonna be cool.
So as we jump in today, do me a favor. Go ahead and share this show out. We're going to be talking about a lot of things story related. We've had some stuff over the last few weeks that we've shared about the different types of stories that you can use, all of the different story models that you can use, how to utilize stories even better in your business setting. And today we're going to talk about signature stories. So do me a favor, share the show with somebody. Go ahead. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and share it. If you are on LinkedIn, go ahead and share it. If you are on YouTube, copy that link and smash that somewhere on somebody's page so that they can hang out with us today. If you're hanging out with us, just do me a favor.
Do it like now.
Yes.
Right now. Like I did it just now. Like, do it.
Yes, exactly. Go ahead, and if you're on with us right now, just go ahead and say hey so that I can see you in the comments. We can pop you up on screen and give you some screen time. Give you some shine. All right. Love it. So, man, we're talking today about signature stories. Man. So,
hold on. Wait. Before we do the signature stories, you forgot your signature intro. RK3, It's me. Like you, hey, I'm just come on now. Okay. Signature.
Hey y'all. Welcome to the show. It's the Storytellers Show with me, Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me and my man
CB. Let's just I have no signature for this intro, so I get a
All right. We're not rapping this time like you were last time, right?
Oh no, that was brutal.
Yeah, David Hunt is saying, "Give me the shine." You got the shine, brother. You got the shine. There you go. Yeah. So we're talking about signature stories. I think one of the things as we've brainstormed ideas for the show, we're really trying to find out what are the things that are going to be useful to people in storytelling. And one of the things that I've heard for a while, even before I became really deep into storytelling, I'd heard the term signature story, and I was like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Does that mean I have to choose a story and tell that same story over and over and over and over again? What exactly does a signature story mean? So you tell me, man, when you've heard the term signature story, what does that mean to you?
Exactly that. Just like how you have a signature for signing documents, it is the quintessential narrative that defines your purpose or your existence or your career path, or it's usually tied to like who you are as a person, usually. Unless it's like some life lesson that you always bring in, and that kind of a thing, to like, oh, he's always known for that one. I would even add, as we're just talking this out now, signature stories can also be humor, right? You can also be known for like that joke that everybody loves when you come around for Thanksgiving or whatever it is. That one story, it may have nothing to do with you, but what you have observed. So, but I think what we're talking about is really more so, more personal. The story that well, maybe not, but I interpret it as, when I hear signature story, it's your autographed narrative of who you are.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said maybe not, because there is a piece of it that's personal, and there is also a piece of it that is business oriented, organizationally oriented. Because what exactly is a signature story? A signature story is actually, let me not even define it myself. I'm going to go to an expert here. An expert, this guy named David Aker, right? And
I think we brought him up in one of the resources last week, right?
Yeah, we did. So David Aker is a researcher, and they, on storytelling, and they have defined signature stories as an intriguing, authentic, involving narrative with a strategic message that clarifies or enhances the brand, the customer relationship, the organization, and or the business strategy. And this is the part that I like. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna underline this right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It is a strategic asset that enables growth, provides inspiration, and offers guidance both internally and externally over an extended period of time. Now, that's a whole lot of stuff right there, right? We've said a whole lot. That's a big definition. So let's break it down and make that even simpler. So a signature story is not just a story. It is, hold on, let me change my highlighter a little bit. It is a strategic message. And the strategic message clarifies or enhances your brand. So like when we've done this before, I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, you've talked about what you do with regard to brand messaging.
Right. That's right.
Right. And so a signature story relates exactly to brand messaging. So a signature story is a strategic message that tells people who you are and what you believe in.
Right. And, and I should clarify, because my definition might have sounded as if it was just for a person. Yeah. But I love that you brought up Aker's definition, because it's also for an entity, which is technically a legal person or your business. Yep. And so, but strategic asset, y'all hold on to that. Hold on to this understanding that, once again, storytelling is a tool. It's a resource that is used. And I love how he put strategic. Oftentimes we know this, right? If you see a word more than once in a particular passage or, in a particular text, it's probably something that you should pay more attention to. It's strategic. And so he says here, it's a message that clarifies or enhances the brand. Yeah, I would say that. And here it is. So if those of you that are watching are like, well, I don't have the capacity. I'm not a CMO, or I'm not, the PR person, or, to be able to improve that, you just, though, might be in a position where you can enhance your own brand, so to speak, your own set of stories, memories, relationships, expectations that your employees are looking at for you. So what is your signature story every time you walk into the office, or every time you hop on a Zoom call? So it's good to also kind of expand the definition, especially now that we're in this work from home culture. What is the story that you're telling every time that you log on?
Yeah. So, so it's a strategic asset. I think I want to go back to this word strategic, because it's like, it's a part of your toolkit, right? It's as we think about marketing, or we think about marketing collateral, right? You've got this, you think about your logo, right? For your company. You think about your business card. You think about your brand colors. So the other day, I went on to maybe last year. I had some idea of what my colors were, right? But I went on and I hired somebody to create my brand palette. Right. And they came back with something that they called a mood board. I was like, what's this mood board thing? Right. And so it had the colors, the specifics of the colors, and then it had some inspirational pictures. And so there was one that had like this orange flower. And I was like, I don't want flowers on my brand. Right. But it was just kind of an inspirational thing that related to the energy and the signature that I wanted for my brand. So a signature story does that same thing. It's an asset that is a part of your marketing tool, your value system, and I love what he says here. It provides inspiration and it offers guidance both internally and externally over a period of time. So here's what happens. Sometimes companies lose their way, right? You get off track just a little bit, and you're kind of working, and and you have these good moments, and you're rolling and you're rolling, and then sometimes you get off track just a little bit, and you need a guiding light. You need a centerpiece. You need something to kind of bring you back to the middle. And your signature story is built to do just that. And I said companies just now, but it can also be a person.
Yep.
You know, what is your central value system? What is the thing that people associate with you? What is the thing that people identify with you? And if you're a little bit left of that, have you ever been in a situation where you may have done something and people looked at you and were like, that's not Chris.
Yeah.
It's out of character. You're a little bit off center, or they heard something about you and they said, nah, he didn't do that.
Yeah.
He didn't do that because it just didn't line up with what you believe.
Right.
Right. How you carry yourself. Right. Go ahead. Jump in, man. I'm getting ready to take off.
This is good, man. I want you to take off, because I think the next part of this, we're already halfway in. The next part of this is, well, what does it look and sound like? So here it is. Let me go ahead and it's so funny. I've been doing this whole "what's your story" thing, and so now I have to hold myself to the fire. Now, what's mine? And what's my signature story? So I took some time, to really think about this, and like I said, I was like, what is it? What is this strategic asset that I have used oftentimes at conferences, or just in places where, people would get a better understanding of why I do what I do. And I realized, it's easy. It's the New York City experience, or the transition. But even then, I had to scale it back and realize, hold on, the story didn't start in New York City. And so here's a summary, and I'm going to use it with a once upon a time kind of setup. For me, once upon a time, I was a freelance copywriter, and I had this passion to give a voice, not just to those who are tech startups, because that's what I was doing at the time, but to homeless people down here in Miami. Wow. I had this passion to do so, and I wanted to do it by using a simple tool, a chair, because I empathize with the fact that most homeless people didn't have, some sort of instrument to sit, to rest. They're using buckets, they're using different things. They're even laying prostrate or just sitting on the ground, on the concrete itself. So I said, you know what, if I can just position them in a place where they can sit and tell their story, and I document that, and somehow eventually we record or, document, with, I don't know, share it with whoever, people will know that there are people who are kind of not ostracized, but are the pariahs, right? They're the outsiders who have genuine stories as well. Little did I know that in a land far away, New York City, I would become homeless myself.
Oh,
and
wow.
I too would need a chair. And I also then found my voice. And it was me finding my voice. I was able to now leverage people up there to share their story. But here's the thing. I was now able to do it from the space of understanding what it was like to not have a voice for some time, to not have a place to rest, to not have showered for over almost a month, and to really get that kind of a feeling. Now, the question is, well, did you do that on purpose? No, the point is of my signature story, as I wrap this up nicely, is that before I could help that particular demographic, those individuals, I had to become one. And not only that, it was and I'm going to use the word again, I've already used it in the beginning of the show, it was the quintessential user experience project where I had to turn it around, and I had to become the user in order to understand what it was like to address and to take care of and to communicate with individuals who are disenfranchised. I had to become disenfranchised myself.
Wow. I love that you shared that story. And I think it's important for people to kind of recognize that inside of themselves. But as we've been saying all this time, a business, it's important for a business to be able to create connection and relatability to people as well. So as a matter of fact, when I do a signature story workshop, let me bring up some of the stuff that I talk about here. So I ask the question, why do you need a signature story? Well, number one, it makes life easier Right? What do you mean it makes life easier? Well, listen, if you have a signature story and you're called on to speak or to lead a meeting or something impromptu,
Yeah.
you've got a story, you've got a connective asset that you can lean on multiple times, right? There's a story that I tell about when I was 8 years old and I learned how to ride a bicycle, right? And I've told that story multiple times.
Yeah.
I've told that story several times. Well, several. It's more than several. That makes me feel like I'm not a professional speaker. No. Okay. Anyway, so I've told this story a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that people have heard the story multiple times, but every time I tell it differently. I tell the same story and I accentuate certain pieces of it because of the lesson that I want to teach at that particular time to that audience. Same story, same experience, same situation. Nothing changed, just highlighting or accentuating specific parts that are that are needed for that moment.
I hope y'all got that. Listen, for those of y'all that are struggling with trying to figure out what should I be posting online, I'm not sure what to do. You find what we call in copyright, we call it the cornerstone piece of content. It's the one, and usually there's like maybe 5 pieces, but you can take one and you turn it over multiple ways and you squeeze that lemon and you can get 5, 6 different kinds of posts, different angles from the same story, right? And so this is what RK3 is talking about, guys. You don't have to use the same, oh, here he go, he's going talking about that lawnmower again and how he was able to start the business and now it's a franchise. No, maybe you don't talk about the lawnmower this time. Maybe you talk about the grass.
Yeah.
Maybe you talk about old man Jenkins in the house who was complaining about the... Anyway, the point is, before I get all descriptive, the point is simply, there are different angles and ways that you can approach the same or tell the same story. I love that you added that there.
Yeah. So I want to go back. I said it makes life easier. So it's an asset, or it's something that you can grab onto. It also helps to bring personality and relatability to your presentations. It also shows people who you are and what you're concerned about, right? So if I have this story so you're talking about your story that you shared with us just now was that at some point you were homeless. Right. So when you talk about the plight of being homeless, or the plight of losing identity, or the plight of losing something central and core to your being, the plight of being denied something, people get it because like, oh my gosh, this dude experienced that thing.
Right. Yeah, the why for me, and it's easy, right? Because there are different whys. So one of the biggest whys is dealing with shame. How do you overcome and have shame resilience? I love referring back to Brene Brown, and so there's that. And here's a greater one is to be the hero of your own story. There was a moment in time, RK, there was a moment in time when I said, you know what, being homeless isn't that bad. Wow. Like I had to choose at that very moment to decide whether or not I was going to make a decision. And so even then, there are a lot of people who give up, right? Another one, and I'll just keep it very brief here, but another one is the stigma of mental illness. Because a lot of people who are chronically homeless are chronically mentally ill. And so there's this idea for me, if I can help people to tell a story about themselves to themselves, they will be able to even see their position, where they are as a transitory residence versus it being a permanent situation, that being homelessness. You can rise above it. So, so even in that, there's so many different ways and angles. So don't think that you have to have one singular why. Yeah, but just know that you can have multiple angles that can answer the same or answer different situations.
Love it. So jumping back here. So the signature story, and the reason you should have it, it shows people who you're concerned, who you are and what you're concerned about. It also helps to build your brand. People begin to associate you with a specific thing, a specific situation. It builds KLT, know, like, and trust. Right. And so we always talk about how people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Right. Yeah. But the challenge that a lot of people have as we talk about signature stories, they're like, Robert, where do I find a signature story. I don't know what my signature story is, or I didn't have that situation. I wasn't homeless like Chris, right? I didn't have that story. I grew up in a middle class home. I've been comfortable my entire life. I've always been taken care of, right? So where do I find a signature story? I was born and I had both arms and legs when I was born. I don't have that drama-filled story. I didn't have a car accident. I didn't almost die. I've lived this regular life, right?
Yeah.
How do I have a signature story? How do I create a signature story? Where do I find a signature story that can be interesting to people? Well, let's look at a few places where you can find signature stories, right? So one place that you can find is a story of overcoming something, anything. It could be that test that you took in middle school that you studied really hard for, or you didn't study enough for, and you didn't pass it the first time, and then you were able to pass it the next time.
Right.
It might be you're getting your driver's license, right? My wife has this story of studying for 2 years and passing her PMP, or her project management exam. She didn't think she was going to do it. Right. So that is a story, and all of us have a story or a place, something that we have overcome,
right?
However small, and it seems small to us, right? But to some other people looking on, they're kind of like, oh my gosh, how did Chris navigate that? How did Chris manage that? How did Chris emotionally deal with being homeless? So talk to me about that for just a second, because you said for a moment you were like, this homeless thing is actually not so bad, so how did you
listen? When you get comfortable in the condition, you get comfortable in the chaos. There are people that are around you who say, listen, there's a philosophy. Listen, why would I want to rise to the middle class just to pay more taxes that is going to support the rich and the poor? We're being taken care of. There are free meals every day. And eventually you get to a point where you're like, I'm tired of washing myself up in the Grand Central Terminal Station bathroom.
Wow.
But if there are shelters out there that allow me to, and so you start to compare your immediate situation to one that's just a little bit better and say, oh, this is good. Oh, this is heaven. I think I can do that, and here it is. I'm so glad that you said, and I know you're going to probably pull out some more. Well, you can't resonate with that. Guys, listen, I recently did this webinar, RK, and I realized that there is, even from a work from home culture, there's variability, changes all around us. But for many of us, because we haven't established an intentional routine, we are a part of the variability. So we're kind of all loosey-goosey or flexing, flowing with things that are going until we choose to be intentional. And then we start to see forces against us trying to push us from doing what it is. It's like, no, the opposition was always there. You now have become consistently intentional about doing something. And so now you are heightened to the variability. These are things that you can pull from. So I'll give you a great example. I now, like every day at a certain time, I'll go outside in the backyard and I notice that there's this crazy, scary looking spider. I Googled it and it's not venomous at all. It's actually very harmless. The way that it builds its spider web, I'm like, how can it stay there through the rain and through all of that? Like, if I would have cut off one part of the web, you'd be done. I go out the next day and it's actually, the whole web is positioned in a totally different place.
Wow.
Capturing different things. And I'm thinking, the adaptability of this one small creature to change different positions in one part of my house and to be able to move and to shift. And I'm thinking it's done for. It's so insignificant. Anyway, guys, that's a story. There's a story there by me just talking about an observation. Anyway, that's not overcoming. That's one example. But I just want to say that
you weren't overcoming, but the spider was.
And then you turn it around and say, you are just like that spider. I don't want to be corny. But
I mean, there was something, maybe it was that the spider was in one place and they ran out of prey, or they ran out of food at that, or they did it and they found that the wind was coming in real strong at that spot. So the spider's like, nope, I'm not going to stay here. Let me move my entire house. My entire layer over to this other corner or this other space. So there are little stories or signature stories inside of a lot of stuff. Here's another place you can find a signature story. A time that you learned something new and it changed your life.
Oh, that's like probably easier than overcoming something.
Yeah. Yeah. Something new that you learned. Maybe it was a course. Maybe it was that you learned a new application. Maybe you learned, I mean, there's sometimes it's something simple, things that I take for granted. My wife all the time, a lot of times she says, babe, can you look up something online? And I'm like, why don't you just look it up? It's Google. It's Google, right? You can do it. Havilah saying Spider-Man. All right. Yeah. So I'm like, it's Google. But what I found out was she says, you know how to look up things better than I do. And at first I was like, you're just kind of talking yourself down. But I realized that certain keywords pop to my mind pretty quickly and they don't pop to hers in the same way because we're different. Right. So I think of a perspective. I think of a way to look something up. And so there are times where people have said, oh, Robert, what do you think about this? And I'll share something. And they're like, oh, my gosh, mind blown, life changed. Right. And I'm just like, that's just, I do that every day at like 5:30 in the morning. I do that every day. Right. But for them, it's life changing. So now they turn around and that becomes a story for them. Listen, Chris told me this. Arcade3 told me this, and it made such a difference. That is a story that you can tell. All right. A lot of different places. How you overcame a childhood trauma. My gosh, we're almost at 1:30. All right. We got like 4 or 5 minutes.
Wow.
Here. How you overcame a childhood trauma. That's another place. How you overcame a workplace or a professional challenge.
It's another easy one. Yeah.
Easy. Right. How you addressed a personal skill deficit. Right. These are all places you can find a story, a signature story, how you address a knowledge gap. Right. These are all things that you can. And we've got so much inside of our space, inside of our experiences that we can pull from and share with people. And the more that we share them, the more that we reveal who we are. We reveal what's important to us. We reveal the places that we've planted our flag. Right. And when we do that, we become inspirational. We become motivational. We become transformational. Yeah. Right. We help people see that. So I just want to go back to that quote by David Aker to kind of end this thing out, man. And then we'll rock and roll for next week. So it is a signature story is an intriguing, authentic, involving narrative with a strategic message that tells people who you are. It makes it even more clear who you are. It's a strategic asset that offers guidance. So if you are an organization, you've got to ask yourself the question, what is your signature story? That might be related to what's your brand story. But a lot of companies haven't thought about what their brand story is or what their signature story is. A lot of individuals. So we talk about organizations versus individuals, but as an individual, what's your brand story? Because you have a brand. Well, what's your brand story? What's the thing that people associate with you or that people see in you or identify with you when they see you? If they're seeing it anyway, you might as well tell the story.
Might as well.
Right? Yeah, man. Listen, this thing flew today. What you got for us to close out, man?
If you are struggling with, I know the area, I know the category, I'm going to do the workplace challenge. Where do I start? You remember what we talked about, guys, in the first few episodes? You have the context, you got the backstory, you got the conflict, and then the conclusion, climax, all of that. Start with the conflict. If you're really just, I'm not sure, start with the conflict and then work your way to the end and then fill in all of the details. What was the end? What was the challenge? Get people to resonate with the challenge. And then you can fill out everything else. That's my suggestion. Start with the middle or start with the end, and then the other stuff will just fall right into place.
Love it, love it, love it. Listen, y'all, this has been another episode of the Storytellers Show. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we understand what you need, what you want, what you'd love to learn more about. So do me a favor. If there's something that you've got a question about, wherever you're watching this, go ahead and put that question right inside the comments area, and we'll come back, we'll answer it, and we'll put it on another episode of the Storytellers Show. As a matter of fact, if you want to be highlighted on the Storytellers Show, if you want your name to be shown in lights, then make sure that you ask a question or you put that in the comments, and we'll answer that question on an upcoming episode. As a matter of fact, I think we're gonna have an episode where we're just answering questions live. That's all we're doing. All right, we're not teaching anything. We're just answering your questions live. So make sure that you do that either here on LinkedIn, Facebook, or on YouTube. Make sure that you go to the channel, you subscribe on the, I don't even have the thing. I don't have the banner. The banner. Yeah. Go check out RK3 TV on YouTube, and you can look up older episodes of the Storytellers Show. Make sure that you do that. And we're here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. telling you how to change the world with your stories. So that's all we've got. That's all we've got. We'll see you next week. All right, y'all.